Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Rob Gill with Epic Financial Strategies, and today we're going to talk about why create an LLC. Once again, thank you so much for listening. Today, peak state, pen and paper, get ready to listen. The education is about to come. I have with me again, none other than Anthony Mauriello from Mauriello Enterprises. What's up, Anthony?
What's going on, Rob? How are you?
Good, good. I love when Anthony's in the house, and today we're going to really talk about, for all you folks that are out there that are either stepping into starting your own business, or you actually have your own business and it's a sole prop, and maybe why you should really think about really kind of going down the path of an LLC.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So Anth, you have how many clients?
I've got about 4,000 clients.
And how many are individual versus business owners?
I would say there's about 800. So when you say business owners,
Yep.
I'm going to define a business owner as I'm self-employed and I'm a cobbler and I fix shoes, up until I'm a huge corporation, or maybe we have many other corporations underneath us.
Yep.
So we've got about maybe 800 or 900 corporations under management there.
And in this space, have you come across folks that had sole props that they really needed to take that next step into an LLC? And what was the reason why?
2 to 3 times a week, absolutely. Yeah. And we'll try to encourage that along the way. So when I'm looking at a tax return, if you're a sole proprietor, that means your business activity sits directly right on your personal tax return, right on what the IRS calls a Schedule C, and its income and expense is part of you and your identity, part of you and your filing. Meaning, if the IRS wants to audit you as a sole proprietor, they're going to knock on your front door. You are the business. Your books are the business. Your check statements, your utility, everything you do, you are the business.
Yep.
There's no separation there. Guess what? If you're married, your spouse is the business if you file a married filing joint return. Because on a joint tax return, all of the income and expense for each taxpayer are located on that same return.
Yep.
You might be doing some tomfoolery in your cobbler studio. Your wife doesn't know about it. If you're audited and this is exposed, she could be on the hook for it.
Got it. So you want to make sure you do the right thing by your wife.
Or your husband.
For all you folks that are out there.
Correct.
Yes.
So that's maybe one reason why when I look at a file, I might say, hey, as a married filing joint couple in front of me, tell me a little bit about the business. Tell me about your involvement in the business to the spouse. And what does it mean to you to not have a separation from yourselves and the business exposure that this is now out there?
Yes, and let me just tell a quick story that happened to me in 2006. I didn't know Anthony. I've been doing business with Anthony since about 2013 or 14. He handles Rob Gill and everything here from an Epic perspective on our tax returns, both individually and business. But back in 2006, I was introduced to somebody, I'm not going to mention any names, and he set up an LLC. And by the way, I don't want you to share whatever your cost is, because unless you decide that you want to do it. But they charged me, which I thought was the right number, $3,000. I got charged $3,000 to set up an LLC. And the feeling there, and maybe there's some people that got prices out, and they're scared to do it. Can you talk a little bit about, the process to open up an LLC, cost range, I guess, and at the same time, how it's really simpler than people think, and they don't have to be charged $3,000 for an LLC, like I was.
Of course, yeah. I could definitely speak to that. Now,
I know the guy's name too.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't know what was involved with the fee, so I can't speak to that fee.
Nothing.
Maybe other things are done with it. So the steps
That's the money train.
That's the
he
money
was on
train.
that money train.
There he goes. He's waving at you, Rob. Sucker, thanks for the train. So the format to form an LLC is always started, no matter where you live. This is a state entity.
Yeah.
So you're going to form your LLC within the Department of State with where you live or where you're going to be doing your business. And there's some steps involved with that.
Yep.
Once that is formed, much like a child, we're now going to give that LLC its own tax ID number. So an EIN, employer identification number, tax ID number, they're all the same thing. Now that you've got a name of your LLC and a tax ID number, each state is a little different as to their requirements. New York State has a publication requirement, meaning that you've got to find 2 publications, 2 journals, newspapers, and advertise, I, Rob Gill, am forming this LLC.
Got it.
It's like the vows of marriage. Does anybody here oppose that?
Got it.
Not every state does that. If you have more than one member, you're going to want a solid membership agreement that will state the expectations of each one of you.
Yep.
This way, I don't let you down, you don't let me down. We know both what we're bringing to the table.
Yep.
And this operating agreement or this managing members agreement states forth any number of things. We could even state forth, hey, this is only a 2-year deal. We're going to close this LLC on this day in the future.
Really?
Absolutely, yeah.
Wow.
So that could be as detailed as you'd like it to be. Correct.
Wow.
The next step into having this child, having this tax ID number, is we actually now get to choose what I'll call the sex of the child. Meaning, we've formed an LLC, we've got a tax ID number. Now, Rob, if it's you and I, how do you want the IRS now? Because remember, the only thing the IRS has done was give it a tax ID number. What do you want to do with this? How do you want this to be taxed? There's 2 of us. By default, if we do nothing, the IRS is going to say, okay, well, there are 2 members of the LLC, not shareholders, you're members. There's 2 members of this LLC. Let's tax them as a partnership because you're 2 people working side by side. You and I and our accountant might look at things and say, well, that doesn't really fit our needs. Let's elect to have this LLC taxed as a partnership, taxed as a corporation rather. So we get to pick and choose how we want this to be formed. If there's 2 of us, maybe a corporation, maybe an S corporation, maybe a partnership. If I'm a single member LLC, I might choose to remain a sole proprietor.
Got it.
I'm an LLC, but I'm still going to be taxed as a sole proprietor. With the state protecting me in forming this vehicle, I might elect to be taxed as a corporation or an S corporation.
Is that the flow-through concept?
That's the flow-through concept.
Got it.
Right.
Got it. So like when you have that, what would you say is the specific time a sole prop should open up an LLC? Like where
Day
would
one.
you? Okay.
I would
So
absolutely.
you don't
day
even
one.
sole prop is just doesn't make sense.
I think the exposure there is
Okay.
unnecessary.
Got it.
Now, I used the example earlier on a married filing joint couple. So let's say I'm a single guy, I'm not married joint, and I'm a sole proprietor.
Yep.
And I'm a cobbler, and I'm making your shoes.
Yep.
God forbid you slip, you fall, you crack your head.
Yeah.
Anthony, it's a result of what you did with my shoes.
Yeah.
I was a sole proprietor. I'm an individual.
Got it.
I'm being sued.
Got it.
Whereas the LLC would give me it's a legal structure. It's a legal entity.
The same concept if you're a real estate owner, right?
Correct.
You'd rather have, if you're a real estate investor, you want to make sure it's in a separate LLC
Absolutely.
for the same concept.
For the same exact
If somebody
reason.
falls out the window.
Think of it as an incubator. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And what if somebody owns 5, 10, 20 properties? What do you tell them?
You could structure this, and that's a little further conversation.
Yep.
For here, open up as many LLCs for each property.
Got it. Okay.
Because for the same reason, you are protecting not only the asset that is within this LLC, but this LLC from this one from this one.
Yep.
Each are their own entities that could be collapsed, could be absorbed, closed, or whatever.
And if these property owners have properties in different states, is that more the reason why they should have separate LLCs?
You would.
Okay.
You would. Because again, each state may have its own filing requirement.
Got it.
I always kind of digress to New York City. New York City has an RPIE, Real
Yep.
Property Income and Expense Report. So each state, depending on where your property is, might have their own requirements for filing.
Excellent. Well, listen, folks, like I said, every day we are bringing content. Hopefully this was information that you were able to take good notes on, ask questions. And if you have any questions, feel free to comment below. In the meantime, click the link below, hit that subscribe button. We are going to be bringing content every day. And guys like Anthony that just bring it on a daily basis are here to help serve and contribute.